I'm your host, John Kramer, and you're watching the Star Wars Generation. You're watching the Star Wars Generation, where a vintage Star Wars fan talks vintage Star Wars. So, I've been noticing a lot of hype on the internet lately about the concept of what was Luke's plan to free Han in Return of the Jedi. In fact, there's even a website right here that says, "We dare you to explain Luke's plan to rescue Han in Return of the Jedi." Okay, I didn't think that was that difficult. But apparently it is, because right here it says, seriously, no one could answer this question. And this wasn't a group of Star Wars slouches either. Frequent Star Wars author Jason Fry was part of this group. Okay, you guys, it's not that hard. I mean, he might be a frequent Star Wars author, but apparently he was not a frequent Star Wars watcher. Because if he was, he could figure this out. This isn't that difficult. So, I'm going to dedicate this episode to explaining to you what Luke's plan was to free Han Solo. Now, to begin with, there were three possibilities here. The first one was to simply break out Han and escape. Now, if that doesn't work, the second part of the plan is to negotiate with Jabba and still try and get Han out. And if that doesn't work, well, then the third part of the plan is to use Force. And not use the Force, but use brute force. And ultimately that's what they had to resort to, because the first two parts of the plan didn't work. So, in order for any plan or any heist to work, you need an inside guy. You need someone who can gain the trust of the enemy. You need someone who has access to the vault codes. You need someone who has access to keys. And this is where Lando comes in. So Lando gets a job working at the palace. So now what happens is he gains the trust of Jabba, gains the trust of everyone there. It doesn't seem suspicious if he's wandering around. And if in future times you need access to the dungeon or perhaps to keys, well, Lando becomes your guy. Next, we need to smuggle weapons into the situation. Now the best, and this is where the droids come in. Now the best droid to do this is going to be R2-D2. But Jabba has no need for an astromech droid. So, you need to convince him that he needs a translator droid. Now the problem is C-3PO is such an analytical droid and so literal that he doesn't understand the concept of secrecy. So you cannot keep him in the know. You have to leave him in complete surprise as to what's going on. And then R2 will ultimately be the one who is going to smuggle in the weapons. So you then have to sell C-3PO and R2-D2 as a package deal. So here you can take these droids, C-3PO will be your translator, and do what you wish with R2-D2, which is ultimately why he winds up working as a waiter on the sail barge. So now we're going to try and get the first part of the plan, which is just simply break Han free and escape. So this is where Leia in Boushh disguise comes in, and Chewbacca. Now, it would seem suspicious if just some random stranger came walking into the palace and just tried to start, getting in on things. And so we have to have a reason for Boushh to come, which is why Boushh comes saying, "I caught Chewbacca." Now there's a reason for Boushh to be there. But this also, brings Chewbacca into the scene. Sure, he's not going to be in the dungeon, but if we can get him out using the keys that Lando can get, well, now we've got one more member of the party to help fight. So ultimately that plan did not work. Leia got caught, she got enslaved, Chewbacca got thrown in the dungeon. So now we have to go to the next part of the plan, which is let's negotiate with Jabba. So Luke comes in. When he comes in, unarmed. And we can see now also that Luke has mastered the Force a little bit more, as we see him Force choke the Gamorrean guard, and we see him do a Jedi mind trick on Bib Fortuna. So he comes in and he talks with Jabba, and the plan is, well, let's see if I can use a Jedi mind trick on Jabba. Let's see if I can coerce him into letting us take Han. Let's see if maybe I can even threaten him a little. But all Jabba does is laugh, because he knows that he is physically more powerful than Luke. So they then, Luke, seeing that he's threatened, actually attempts to start using the brute force right then, as he uses the Force to steal the gun from the Gamorrean guard. But the problem is they drop out the floor and he drops down to the Rancor. So we have the Rancor fight. And after that's over, it's now time for the execution. Now we have to go to the third part of the plan. The first two did not work. Now we are going to have to resort to brute force. So they go out on the skiffs and they ride over the pit of Carcoon, the Sarlacc pit in the Dune Sea, and they're going to execute them. And Luke even threatens Jabba one more time, let us go or die, when they all just laugh and think he's nuts. That's when the final part of the plan goes into action. Luke walks off the plank, catches on, flips up, and now R2-D2 shoots the lightsaber into the air. Luke catches the lightsaber. Okay, so now we've got our weapons. Luke starts to fight. Lando happens to be on the same skiff as Luke. So now, the person who, the insider, the guy who you thought was on your side, is actually now no longer on your side. So now you have that element of surprise as well. So now they start fighting on that skiff. Meanwhile, on the same skiff are Han and Chewie. So now you free Chewbacca, and Chewbacca is the strongest of any of the characters there. Now Han isn't going to be much good, because he's still suffering from carbonite sickness. But now we've got Chewie, and the fight ensues. And now all the chaos happens, because no one was expecting such a small group of people to be able to start succeeding. So they've got this element of surprise to their benefit. Now, we've got Leia over on the sail barge, and with all this hectic chaos going on, well, she is then able to take Jabba by surprise, choke him with the chain that actually enslaves her, and she kills Jabba. And so then Luke swings on over to the sail barge and he grabs Leia, and they set the gun at the sail barge to blow it up, and then reminiscent of the original Star Wars movie, Luke and Leia go swinging back, the droids fall off, and we pick up the droids and we fly away. That was the plan. It was simple. It wasn't that difficult. So now, the person who wrote this article said, please respond and post it on my Twitter page. Now the problem is, I'm not on Twitter. So this is where I ask a favor of you. I'm putting a link to his Twitter page in the description below. If any of you are kind enough, would you please click on that link and then post a link to this video on his Twitter page so I can show him it's really not that difficult to explain the plan. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe. Post in the comment section below. So until next Wednesday, good night, good luck, and may the Force be with you.